Part 36. I'm Really Immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Rusiahua. Chapter 357. The child who learned to dance with Jo Dongdong was called Songdazi. She was a bit shy and introverted. She was holding Jo Dongdong's Ultraman mask and a small plane in her hands. She sat on a small stool and watched Jo Dongdong seriously. On the podium, he moved his arms very fast. Songdazi couldn't tell that it was dancing, but she was worried that if Jo Dongdong fell off the podium or hit his hands on the wall or table, it would hurt and make him cry. Oops! Jo Dongdong fell down as usual, quickly got up, and said breathlessly, "As long as I spin faster, I almost flew up just a little bit." Songdazi quickly jumped down and hugged Jo Dongdong, slapping Jo Dongdong's butt and knees. "Forget it if it's almost, it's already very impressive." Songdazi looked at Jo Dongdong with admiration, because Jo Dongdong was jumping around like a puppy every day. "Sooner or later you will fly to the sky to pick the moon." Lu Chang'an and An Nuan walked into the classroom and said to Jo Dongdong with conviction. Jo Dongdong originally planned to continue teaching Songdazi to dance, but now he gave up because Brother Chang'an would definitely laugh. Then I am also very powerful." Jo Dongdong wanted to retort, but felt that this seemed like a compliment to himself, so he nodded. "Kid, are you going back by yourself or is your mother coming to pick you up?" An Nuan asked another child with concern. "My name is Songdazi." Songdazi introduced herself softly without answering An Nuan's answer directly. "Dazi's mother will come to pick her up," Jo Dongdong said. Otherwise Jo Dongdong would be a little worried if a child as young as Songdazi was alone in a large classroom. "Then let's go first." Lu Chang'an glanced at Songdazi, held Jo Dongdong's hand and said, "Her mother will be here soon, shall we go together?" Jo Dongdong looked up at Lu Chang'an. "Good." Jo Dongdong jumped up and down, and Songdazi also jumped up and down with a smile, looking very happy. "Children are so cute, every little thing makes them happy." And Nuan smiled and said to Lu Chang'an, "Those little girls who get angry at the slightest thing are also very cute." "Who is it?" "You." "That's pretty much it?" "Then I have to admit that I am a little girl who gets angry at the slightest thing." After An Nuan finished speaking, she chuckled sheepishly. Because of the existence of Brother Chang'an, the shadow maker among most of Jo Dongdong's children, Jo Dongdong stopped dancing and ran around in circles in the classroom. Songdazi took out a picture book and put it on the table. "Dazi, do you know all these words?" An Nuan asked Songdazi, because she remembered that Jo Dongdong seemed to only read books with pictures of food and small animals. Songdazi shook her head. She could only look at pictures, but of course her and Jo Dongdong's concerns were different. "Sister, let me ask you a question." An Nuan was with the children, and her voice became cute again. She pointed at the book and said, "There is a question here. Mom brought back 5 apples. How can we divide them among the 4 brothers? Let everyone have the same number." "You can give one to Mom, everyone has it," Songdazi said happily. An Nuan blinked, and in front of her eyes was a heartwarming little angel. "Jo Dongdong, Mother brought 5 apples to share. How can we distribute them to the 4 sons so that everyone has the same amount?" Lu Chang'an called over Jo Dongdong, who was running around. Jo Dongdong pursed his lips, poked his cheek with his finger, tilted his head and looked at the ceiling, and then continued to jump up and down on the edge of the podium. This is a typical primary school student who doesn't study well but is very energetic. "Jo Dongdong," Lu Chang'an carried her back and repeated the question. "My mother doesn't have 4 sons, she only has 1 child," Jo Dongdong said confidently, "so I don't know what to do." The girl finally relented. An Nuan held back her laughter and said to Lu Chang'an, who was choked by Jo Dongdong, "It's normal if you don't know how to do it. After all, first-grade primary school students don't have the concept of division." "Does this require division?" Lu Chang'an looked at the lively little animal in front of him without feeling that there was anything wrong with him. At this time, Songdazi's mother came to pick up Songdazi. She was a woman in her 30s, wearing a pair of glasses and smiling very friendly. She greeted Lu Chang'an and An Nuan warmly, and then left the school together. Songdazi's mother drove over in a car and asked if she wanted to give her a ride. Lu Chang'an and An Nuan thanked her, took Zhou Dongdong's hand and waved goodbye to Songdazi, who lowered the car window. Mom seems to be a very considerate person, An Nuan praised. The first impression was very good. Like mother, like daughter. Lu Chang'an used this sentence to praise others, but also often used it to hurt others. Because brother Chang'an and sister An Nuan are both very tall, Zhou Dongdong felt like he was being hung up by holding their fingers, so Zhou Dongdong chose to only hold brother Chang'an's finger and slowly press against his thigh. Walk home slowly and waddlingly. Every time she walks, Zhou Dongdong will stop and take a look at a store. This is a sign her mother taught her to remember the route. The last shop turned out to be the shop where Lu Chang'an and An Nuan bought tea. Now here are Zhou Dongdong, sister An Nuan and I. We bought 4 cups of milk tea. How can we distribute them fairly? Lu Chang'an stopped. Bring a drink to my mother. Zhou Dongdong's mother does not have 4 sons, but Zhou Dongdong only has 1 mother, so Zhou Dongdong can answer such a question. An Nuan laughed. The child's thoughts were really cute. See, Zhou Dongdong can do it too. She's just not as expressive as other children, but that doesn't mean she's not heartwarming, Lu Chang'an said to An Nuan with some pride. An Nuan burst out laughing. What Lu Chang'an had been thinking about was that the other children performed better than Zhou Dongdong. He felt that he had no face and had to let Zhou Dongdong perform better. This person usually always said Zhou Dongdong is a stupid kid, but he actually has high expectations for Zhou Dongdong. So the 3 of them bought 4 cups of milk tea. Since it was her suggestion to bring 1 cup to their mother, Lu Chang'an and An Nuan each drank another cup, and Zhou Dongdong took 1 cup to drink. When we returned to the restaurant, it was no longer the peak dining hour, but there was still 50% occupancy rate. Zhou Shuling arranged a seat for Zhou Dongdong to sit down, and asked Lu Chang'an and An Nuan if they wanted to eat noodles again. After refusing, he drank half a cup of milk tea brought back by Zhou Dongdong, and then suddenly said in surprise, I remembered it. It was reported last time that these teas actually contain very high calories. Drinking a cup of milk tea is equivalent to you eats 3 pounds of fat. It's okay, you can be as round as Zhou Dongdong, Lu Chang'an said nonchalantly. Is this okay? This matter was so big that Zhou Shuling hit Lu Chang'an angrily and drank the rest of the milk tea with regret. She couldn't let half of it go to waste. Sorry, I have a bit of a headache and feel sleepy. I will update 2 chapters first. I will take a rest and then get up and update the remaining 2 chapters together. 3 chapters, 3 chapters. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 358. Zhou Shuling didn't give Zhou Dongdong, who had a little expectant look in her eyes, the remaining 2 sips, and finished them all. After all, Zhou Shuling usually said that Lu Chang'an raised Zhou Dongdong like a fat pig, so she shouldn't give her more to drink with such a high-calorie thing. Zhou Dongdong sat on the chair, first laid out the picture books, and then wore an Ultraman mask and played with a small plane on the table. Sister An Nuan, come and eat rice noodles again, bye. Zhou Dongdong often heard his mother say this when greeting others. Goodbye, goodbye, Dongdong is so good. Lu Chang'an and An Nuan left Bailong Center. An Nuan felt that college life was much more leisurely than high school, mainly because she had more free time. She was still used to reading at home at night. How did Professor Lu Yuwang take care of her daughter? She is not very professional when it comes to life, but she is very enthusiastic about enriching An Nuan's spiritual life. She buys An Nuan some books from time to time on various humanities, social sciences, and history books that have nothing to do with her major. Lu Yuwang himself doesn't read much. She now pays more attention to some public accounts that are professional in healthcare and beauty. After class, I walked around with my boyfriend, watched a movie, drank a cup of milk tea, and even had the experience of picking up elementary school students from school. It was great. Why did Jo Dong Dong only say hello and farewell to me, but not to you? And Nuan was a little happy, as if she was treated better. Because she thinks you are a guest and needs to be polite to you, Lu Chang'an sneered. It's really pretentious. Then when she asked me to eat rice noodles, she also wanted to make money from me, and Nuan came to her senses. Yes. What a clever kid. Yes. Then you said Jo Dong Dong also knows Bai Hui, Zhu Huntang, Qin Yanan, and the others. Who does she like the most? She likes whoever gives her delicious food. She has no principles in this regard. I see. Yes. Lu Chang'an and An Nuan chatted and went to the supermarket on the first floor to buy food. An Nuan saw green vegetables in a square transparent box with a petri dish attached to the root and organic vegetables written on it. Vegetables are not organic, are they inorganic? And Nuan couldn't help but laugh. It's really funny. My Tuo, you didn't know this. What we sell is organic food, and the food outside is all non-organic. It is very polluted, has a lot of pesticides, and is inedible. The salesperson came over and explained. Then it should be called pollution-free food. Why should it be called organic food? And Nuan continued to wonder. Organic food is pollution-free food, and this concept is being promoted, the salesperson continued. And Nuan didn't want to talk to her anymore, and she didn't want to buy these organic vegetables. A handful of vegetables cost 18 yuan, so organic. It's not that this kind of food is completely a gimmick. Although the nutritional content is the same, it actually refers to pollution-free, non-GMO food. The common name abroad is organic food, and it is not wrong to translate it into organic food. Don't just understand organic here as the definition of organic matter, Lu Chang'an explained to An Nuan in a knowledgeable manner as usual. My mother's favorite is these organic foods and organic products, and Nuan looked at Lu Chang'an and said, helping you find another common ground. Lu Chang'an opened his mouth and continued his well-informed explanation. Actually, the testing of pesticides nowadays is very strict. The residual standards after normal cleaning have minimal harm to the human body. If a person's disease can be traced back to the fruits and vegetables he eats, in fact, there is almost no scientific evidence to support the pesticides on the food. Instead of eating organic food every day, actually pay attention to exercise, eat less barbecued spicy betel nut and other foods that naturally have a greater risk of cancer, stay up late and overwork less, and eat less food early in the morning. It's more important to go to bed and wake up early. And Nuan was very satisfied with this explanation. It would be no problem to turn the common points into differences. Lu Chang'an is really a witty boyfriend. He can say whatever he wants with his mouth. But aren't we going to have barbecue tonight? To talk about effects apart from the dose is to be ridiculous. Even the most well-known lethal substance, arsenic, when the dose is very small, many people still think it has health-preserving effects and can be used as medicine. The same goes for barbecue. It's okay to eat 1 or 2 meals a day. There's a problem with eating barbecue. Oh, you can explain it anyway. Yeah, it's not easy being your boyfriend. What did you say? I said it's not easy to be your boyfriend. Most people don't have the qualifications and blessings. I like you. It's worth it. And Nuan generously took the initiative to kiss Lu Chang'an on the cheek, tried her best to pretend to be ordinary, and continued to wander around the supermarket with Lu Chang'an. It was actually Lu Yuwang's suggestion to eat barbecue. She believed that barbecues outside were very risky for cancer and unhygienic, so it was better to cook them at home, so she bought a barbecue table with an oil draining and smoking function. After all, she was shopping on TV. I had a deep understanding of the demonstration on the table and told Anyuan that it can be disassembled and turned into an electric heating table in winter, where you can play mahjong. In this era, not many people still place orders on TV shopping frequently. After An Nuan bought it from Lu Yuang, he saw a 358 of the same style on Doubao, and Professor Lu Yuang spent 2,780. If I had to say that, the better part was probably that the TV shopping program rewarded the VIP customer with a set of usable barbecue tableware, which surprised her. The last time she was so surprised was when she bought back a cucumber cutting machine. When An Nuan and Lu Chang'an came back, Lu Yuang was sitting cross-legged on the sofa reading the manual. He quickly put down his legs and brought them together diagonally. He straightened his waist lazily and elegantly and snorted softly, and said casually, "You guys, let's take a look at this barbecue table. There must be something wrong with the instruction manual. I don't understand how to install it." Naturally, this kind of thing had to be left to Lu Chang'an. An Nuan took the manual and looked at it side by side, feeling that it was a bit too complicated. Lu Chang'an didn't read the manual. Like most men, he just picked it up and put it together a few times. If he had any questions, he would look at the manual. In the end, without reading the instructions, Lu Chang'an put the barbecue table together. Lu Yuang came out, praised Lu Chang'an for his ability, and then went to the balcony to pick up the garlic sprouts and spring onions she had planted. She specifically asked not to buy garlic sprouts and spring onions. This was she grows her own organic vegetables. Actually, we also have similar special abilities. For example, when we pick up a cosmetic, we know what effect it has. But even if I show you the ingredients and instructions, you may not know what they do or what they look like. What is the completely different effect of another cosmetic that is exactly the same? And Nuan felt that girls seemed to be naturally suppressed by boys when it came to using tools and machinery. She was a bit unconvinced and wanted to regain some face. What difference can cosmetics make? Aren't they all marinated meat? Lu Chang'an waved his hand. Pickled meat ingredients, and Nuan laughed so hard that he put his arms around Lu Chang'an's neck to push him down on the sofa. It seems like I'm just a piece of marinated meat in front of you, right? Yes, the cosmetics are pickled and smell like body odor, a fragrant piece of meat, Lu Chang'an insisted. I'm not targeting you, I'm saying that girls' body odor generally comes from this. And Nuan suddenly lowered her head and smelled Lu Chang'an's body. She was sure that Lu Chang'an did not use cosmetics or perfume, and only rinsed and wiped his hair with water when bathing. Dog, Lu Chang'an pinched her nose. I'm telling you a secret, don't laugh, and Nuan suppressed Lu Chang'an and said threateningly. I'll laugh or not depending on the situation. Actually, we were sitting at the same table for the first time in the first semester of high school. No, we were across the aisle, and I could smell your scent. It smelled really good, and Nuan smiled sheepishly, but also felt a little proud. Anyway, he is his own now. He is obviously the one chasing her, but An Nuan actually feels like he got what he wanted. So, there is always a reason for liking someone. Maybe it starts with the smell that you like in him. I hate it. It's not because of the smell on your body. And Nuan was about to get angry and act coquettishly, but she suddenly had a regretful epiphany. How come after the KTV confession incident, by the way, a person who is so obsessed with face, can still treat me like a baby? You changed your mind. Because you sat next to her, because she liked the smell of you. Can you find a more reliable reason for your jealousy? Lu Chang'an pushed An Nuan away. I'm going to wear Chuan, come and help me. No, I want to cause trouble. An Nuan followed Lu Chang'an to the kitchen with a heavy heart. This barbecue was quite good, except that An Nuan had to thread the leeks and beans into heart shapes, and asked Lu Chang'an not to damage her carefully made heart-shaped skewers when grilling. Even Lu Chang'an, it's also impossible to bake leeks in a heart-shaped shape. It's almost ready to be roasted, and you still ask others to pose it for you? That's too much. After the barbecue, An Nuan and Lu Yuang wanted to take a walk in Zhangde University as usual and see Lu Chang'an off. Lu Chang'an's class had a party tonight and they were going to sing later. Lu Chang'an agreed because he was at Zhangde University. After coming down, he decided to roar twice. After all, this has been one of the entertainment activities that he is good at and loves for hundreds of thousands of years. However, there is still a big difference between what he sang in the past and what he sings now. And Nuan actually wanted to go together, but she just thought about it. It didn't matter how she and Lu Chang'an fought or acted coquettishly or jealously in private. It was also her right to declare her sovereignty when school started. But every time her boyfriend attended social occasions, they have to stick close to her and look at her closely, which will not only make people think that she is too much, but also make people look down on Lu Chang'an. Bye, and Nuan looked at Lu Chang'an's back with a sweet smile and waved goodbye. Small, I know you want to follow. Lu Yuang saw through it at a glance. I didn't. Aren't you afraid that Lu Chang'an will run away with someone else? Why am I so unsure of myself? Apart from having better skin, good looks, and being taller, where do you get your confidence from? Lu Chang'an likes me because I'm so beautiful that he looks down on others. Usually it's because others don't have confidence in front of me, dear mother. You have no meaning. If you watch moments all day long to gain knowledge and learn science, don't say that I have no meaning. You stinky girl. End of chapter. I recommend a very good and powerful League of Legends novel, League of Demons system. It has many interesting jokes. It is relaxed, enjoyable and technical. I believe everyone who has played LOL will like it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 359. Lu Chang'an bought a bag of oranges on the road. The oranges at this time were mainly green oranges, which were sweet and sour, and had a great flavor. However, they were not suitable for ordinary people to eat in large quantities, as they would easily cause toothache. Nowadays, you can eat oranges at any time. It is hard to imagine that oranges were once the main autumn and winter snacks of most families 20 or 30 years ago. During the orange harvest season, the production brigade organized women to in the collective orchard, baskets of oranges were picked, and oranges were hanging all over the branches. Women were walking among them with towels in their hair, baskets on their backs, and scissors in their hands. Before the official picking, when the oranges were still green, the orange orchard occupying the entire mountain was surrounded by thorns. There was a red brick hut every other mile in the orange orchard, where the watchers of the orange orchard lived at night. Inside, everyone is poor, and everyone is greedy, especially the thin children. They find a gap to sneak in, and they are hard to guard against. They can steal several baskets in one night and give them to people who are outside. In addition to eating for themselves, they can also get them. Sell it somewhere else. Not to mention the material conditions at that time, life actually did not have many romantic conditions. The lonely hut of the night watchman, the female thief who came to steal the oranges, or an acquaintance, or the little girl next door, in the moonlight in the wild next, it is not impossible for some romantic stories to happen. Many literary and film and television creations with rural backgrounds, no matter how highly praised they are now, are indispensable for the author's experiences in those melon fields and plum trees when he was young, and the villagers' buttocks and cocks flying with foam at their mouths. The influence of Zi's story. Many writers and directors now were just a part of the gangsters back then. Some people have improved and made progress, but some people are still old gangsters after all. Even if they want to transform, they can't escape the gangster atmosphere. What does it mean to be close to reality? Stuff. Lu Chang'an was eating oranges, thinking about things related to oranges, and placed the orange peels that still looked round after removing the flesh one by one. There must always be people with bad eyesight who like to take advantage of them. Pick it up and take a look. The silk threads in the green orange peel are hidden, and they look like complete oranges at night. There are whispers coming from nowhere in the quiet campus, as leisurely as the sound of pipes and flutes, and the shades of trees are swaying. The Hunan University campus is full of tall trees that have grown wantonly for decades, with crowns full of leaves. The accumulation is like a black cloud hovering in the night sky. Two white and tender fingers gently pinched the orange peels. The darker the night, the more the white and tender skin appeared as crystal clear as jade, which reminded people of the dim light of the jade exhibits in the museum hidden behind glass. Moisturizing scene. Sunangzio picked up the orange peel and looked at it with a calm expression. How powerful is the power of habit! After many turbulent years, as time goes by and the appearance changes, what remains unchanged is this boring habit of pranks. She pinched the orange peel with her fingernails, and the green tissue fluid overflowed and soaked between her pink and white nails, turning into a yellow-green color that she didn't like very much, so she threw away the orange peel and wiped it carefully. I wiped my fingernails, smelled the smell, and sprayed a little perfume on my hands with dissatisfaction to cover up the strong smell of orange peel. Sunangzia walked towards a more secluded path, followed by a tall boy. This person is really boring. Guan Yuan's tone was filled with anger. Why should he be such a boring person? Why does Guan Yuan always feel that the other party is overpowering him? This feeling is very uncomfortable. People's mentality will change. In the past, it was not that Guan Yuan could not accept that someone was better than him, so he could get more attention and favor. But now he is obviously one of the top outstanding human beings in the world, but he has to less than the life you should have. The king of Chuzhuang was already a blockbuster if he could remain silent. After reigning for more than 20 years, he became one of the 5 hegemons by drinking horses from the Yellow River. This was probably a life in which he wanted to be prosperous but suppressed first. Boredom is a kind of leisurely leisure in a lonely state of mind. It is rare. Although she knew that the young man behind her was difficult to understand, Sunangzio still explained. Guan Yuan was stunned for a moment, racking his brains for a long time and unable to answer. You go to the party tonight and behave better. Young girls love vanity. They also hope that the person who pursues them is the one who attracts the most attention and is the most outstanding person at the scene. Sunangzio turned around, expressionless. He looked at Guan Yuan calmly. His appearance was above average, and his physique had changed. Logically speaking, it would be very simple to capture a little girl of the same age. I know, Guan Yuan said with some discomfort. According to his plan, he planned to approach the other party in a more private scene or when they were alone, not when Lu Chang'an was there. Sooner or later you will have to face Lu Chang'an. What's the use of running away? Sunangzio said with a slight smile on his lips. Guan Yuan's heart was filled with blood, and Sunangzio's slight ridicule was unbearable. In fact, compared to other women, the 14-year-old girl in front of him, who was the youngest in the freshman registration register, was what Guan Yuan cared about the most. I hope you can find some use. Sunangzio turned around. Lu Chang'an, I checked his information. This guy has grown so big. It seems that all his talents and skills are focused on how to attract girls. It's not that I'm useless, and I'm not afraid of him, but it's like I am a halfway monk and he is a professional. It is inevitable that I will fall behind in the beginning. You have to give me some time. Guan Yuan defended himself. I agree with this, but I remind you again, don't use force on girls. I hate this very much. If you want to use raw rice to cook cooked rice, I don't mind if you get killed, but don't get me into trouble. Sunangzio turned her back to Guan Yuan. Her breathing was slightly hot and rapid, and her cheeks were slightly red. I know, I won't, Guan Yuan assured immediately. In short, the things that make Lu Chang'an unhappy are the things that make me happy. Sunangzio waved her hand. Let's go. Guan Yuan nodded. In fact, the things that made Lu Chang'an unhappy were also the things that made Guan Yuan happy. However, he now understood that since he could let Sunangzio deal with this secretly instead of openly killing Lu Chang'an, it seemed that Lu Chang'an is by no means an ordinary supporting role template as he first thought. Stop. Guan Yuan was about to leave when a young man wearing a mask held a knife to Sunangzio's abdomen. Hand over all the money, the young man said urgently in a low voice. You're looking for death, Guan Yuan was furious. He felt that he was sure to blow the young man's head off with one punch before the young man's knife actually penetrated Sunangzio's abdomen. However, he was not sure that the sharp knife would not cut through Sunangzio's delicate vagina. Skin. Don't come over here, or I'll stab her to death. The young man held a knife against Sunangzio and pressed her against the wall. I said, I have to keep a low profile. Recently Sunangzio waved her hand to signal Guan Yuan not to move, and said to the young man in a calm tone, I don't have any money on me. If you want it, I can only transfer it to you. The young man looked at Sunangzio and Guan Yuan. Sunangzio did not look like he was carrying a wallet, so he asked Guan Yuan to take out his wallet. Guan Yuan only had 500 yuan in his wallet, which was taken away by the young man. Do you think I'm stupid? If you transfer money to me, the police still won't find me according to the account information, the young man said fiercely. Let him withdraw the money. If he dares to call the police, I will stab you to death. At worst, we will both die. The bank is closed at night, so the ATM cannot withdraw much money, and there is not much money in his bank card. Sunangzio looked at the young man very calmly. I can transfer 5 million to you at one time. 5 million. The young man's Adam's apple trembled, and he hesitated in disbelief for a moment. Look, there is no limit to a one-time transfer of 5 million for large transfers from my personal account. Sunangzio took out her mobile phone and showed it to the young man. Seeing the amount of assets displayed in Sunangzio's account, the young man suddenly became dizzy. He gritted his teeth and counted several times before he could clearly see the number. His hands suddenly trembled, and his cell phone and knife fell to the ground together. He shivered and retreated. After a few steps, he said, I don't want it anymore. I can't see the mountain, please show me your noble hand. After saying that, the young man threw away Guan Yuan's several hundred yuan, staggered a few steps and barely managed to steady himself, turned around and ran away, as anxious as an unlicensed dog that lost its home. Goodbye. Sunangzio shook her slender white hands, picked up her phone, and wiped it carefully. Guan Yuan's expression was complicated. It turns out that people who truly have mastered the power and can use it as they please may not directly and crudely solve problems with violence. Or maybe she just thinks it's more interesting to show people's panic and ugliness in this way. Learned. Increased knowledge. But for such a person, if he now feels that he has robbed someone he cannot afford to offend, he may not give up the idea and will still rob him next time. Guan Yuan couldn't help but express his opinion. None of your business. It's not my business. After Sunangzio finished speaking, she slowly walked out of the remote path. Guan Yuan followed her, watching her buy a stick of corn on the street and slowly nibbling on each grain, and then turned around and rushed to the party. Go. Getting farther and farther away from Sunangzio, Guan Yuan felt that the vague feeling that made him dare not even breathe finally disappeared, and a feeling of being himself stirred up in his body. As long as he was not facing someone like Sunangzio, people, I should be a special existence like a protagonist in Hunan University. As for someone like Sunangzio, she is actually a 14-year-old girl. According to the logic of reality and her own knowledge, how can she exist? It's just that she did appear. Guan Yuan thinks that such a girl can only be described by the word monster that is used badly in urban novels. Maybe this is the power of setting her up to be such an incredible character, so I can only accept it. She is so special. An incredible girl like Sunangzio can only exist if she exists. Such recognition makes Guan Yuan feel a little bit more convinced that she is the male protagonist. The guidance of urban literature may not be unreliable. For example, urban literature, the male protagonist of the novel often meets evil girls, and he has already met him. I was angry that a girl like Bai Hui didn't have a good impression of him, nor was she curious about him, nor did she demand anything from him because of his uninhibited image. Becoming her personal bodyguard, roommate, or temporary boyfriend is probably because Bai Hui is too ordinary and not qualified to be a heroine. But today's target is Bai Hui. In fact, it is not to compare with girls like Sunangziu. Bai Hui is not ordinary at all. In real life, she is so eye-catching. How many people's eyes linger on her? Guan Yuan quickened his pace and walked towards the villa where the party was held. This kind of villa was not a real mansion, but had been rented and simply decorated. There were also some mini-golf, billiards, and board games, a small bar, and a projector. Game consoles, mahjong tables, KTV and other things are stuffed in for parties. The price of a place like this in Junsha is about 2,000 yuan a night on weekdays, and doubles on weekends. The price today is relatively cheap. The key is I can afford it relatively easily. When Guan Yuan arrived at his destination, he saw Lu Chang'an standing at the door of the villa but did not go in. Guan Yuan hesitated for a moment. Sunangziu did not explain in detail what Lu Chang'an's abilities were or how troublesome he was. However, Guan Yuan understood from Sunangziu's tone that he and Lu Chang'an would be evenly matched at most. Even if they really fought, even if they won, they would have to pay some price. This is a person who cannot be treated as a supporting role. He has the aura of a protagonist just like himself. Guan Yuan came over anyway and looked at Lu Chang'an coldly. "Would you like an orange?" Lu Chang'an handed over an orange. Guan Yuan was stunned for a moment, then took it and found it was another empty orange. The corners of his eyes twitched involuntarily. What was his grandma's boredom is a leisurely and contented leisure in a lonely state of mind. Lu Chang'an smiled and handed over another orange. "Just kidding, this is a really edible orange." "Thank you, no need." Guan Yuan suppressed the anger in his heart. He had never seen anyone being able to provoke others to rage so easily. He didn't want to have a conflict with Lu Chang'an at the door. "Why don't you go in? I originally thought it was a party for our class, but I didn't expect it to be a social gathering between two classes," Lu Chang'an said with some concern, "so I decided to finish the oranges before going in." "What do these two things have to do with each other?" Guan Yuan didn't want to pay attention to Lu Chang'an anymore. From the corner of his eye, he saw Lu Chang'an throw the orange he was handed to him for the second time into the trash can. Yes, the oranges he said were really edible were actually orange peels. Guan Yuan walked into the villa. He was no longer a headless fly who went around causing trouble and groping for his own special life. He was not here to fight Lu Chang'an tonight. He had his own mission. Watching Guan Yuan go in, Lu Chang'an still stood at the door and finished the orange. For a protagonist like Guan Yuan, of course everyone should be noticed when he enters. If he walked in with him, he would inevitably have to separate and gather in the crowd. The gaze and attention on him really don't represent the beauty of an adult. After a while, Lu Chang'an walked in. "Lu Chang'an, why are you here so late?" Bai Hui took Lu Chang'an's arm and walked to the center of the living room and introduced to his classmates, "This is Lu Chang'an from the School of Life Sciences. He is a handsome guy. But he has a girlfriend. The girls who are thinking about him should stop wasting their time on him." Lu Chang'an pushed Bai Hui's hand away. Did he learn this party host accent from watching student parties in American TV series? "Hello everyone, I'm Lu Chang'an." Lu Chang'an smiled, nodded to the eyes of all parties, and then left the center of the living room. Naturally, not all of the two classes could come to the party, but there were quite a few people. It was the first time for everyone to participate in such an event at the university. They were all fresh and excited, and they had all kinds of little things in their hearts. How could it be true? Are there many people who have been paying attention to one of them? Even though Lu Chang'an has an outstanding temperament and his breath is as fresh as the forest and the sea, in such an environment, it is just a background under the feasting and feasting. Unless someone pays special attention to him, in fact, there will always be someone who pays special attention to him. What are you doing here? You're already an hour late. Bai Hui looked at Lu Chang'an with some complaints. I thought it was just a party for our class, but I didn't know it was for 2 classes. This kind of party in the name of friendship is actually a comfortable party to see whose hormonal aura blends better with others. It would be better to come later. Lu Chang'an, he asked casually, which room is the singing room in? I'm going to sing. I'll take you there, Bai Hui said positively. The audiovisual entertainment equipment is in a slightly larger room on the 2nd floor. It is no different from the general KTV layout. There are already several people singing in it. When Lu Chang'an and Bai Hui came in, they just took a look and smiled. Bai Hui didn't say anything more. After introductions and greetings, I went to order songs. What are you singing? Bai Hui asked. None of your business. Let's sing a duet. Bai Hui complained that Lu Chang'an came late because of this. She always had a special urge to sing with Lu Chang'an, which filled her heart with anticipation. Although the last time the 2 of them experienced together in KTV was not a pleasant memory, and even made Bai Hui feel embarrassed, Bai Hui still remembered the pleasure of being led by Lu Chang'an to sing to the top of the sky, which made people want to stop. After that, every time I sang, I felt like I was almost missing something. You're so bad at singing, Lu Chang'an recalled. Am I a bad singer? Bai Hui looked at Lu Chang'an unconvinced. She clearly felt that the collaboration with Lu Chang'an that day was perfect and became a classic performance of chorus in KTV. You sang a song called Chengdu. It seems to be this one. It's pretty ugly anyway. That's Miao Yingying. Not you. I sang the song When Love Is a Past by Li Zongsheng and Lin Yulian with you, Bai Hui reminded Lu Chang'an while wanting to pinch Lu Chang'an's arm, but he could actually forget it. Fortunately, Bai Hui even considered that chorus as a benchmark for her future singing experience. Oh, I got it. I see, you are so big. What should we sing today? Bai Hui tolerated it for the time being, and she felt that Lu Chang'an had even forgotten this matter, so she should be a little guilty, so if she proposed to sing a chorus, it would be natural for him to agree. I want to sing Swords Like Dreams. Lu Chang'an casually glanced at the jukebox. Let's sing the chorus first. Bai Hui stomped her feet unhappily. How about Rooftop? You should be on the roof, I should be under the car, that one. No such song. Oh. Choral C. Bai Hui was looking for classic chorus songs, and the songs were a bit older than Bai Hui's. Won't. Then let's go with When Love Is a Past. Bai Hui thought for a while. Since he was willing to sing this song last time, he probably has no reason to refuse this time. Okay, after singing, I want to sing Swords Like Dreams. I suddenly found that the song is very suitable for our Zhu Fenglai sword section. I have to buy a license to use it as our sex song. Lu Chang'an thought for a while and said. Bai Hui didn't know what he was talking about, but it didn't matter. She just wanted to sing. But ever since she sang with Lu Chang'an, a harmful person, she couldn't find that hearty feeling when she went to KTV. She was always a little bit, the meaning is still incomplete, lacking some just right impact. You are not reserved enough today, you are too enthusiastic. Lu Chang'an and Bai Hui chatted while waiting for others to sing. Bai Hui rolled her eyes at him and continued to hum along with the melody. Anyway, Lu Chang'an always made sarcastic remarks to her from time to time, and Bai Hui was used to it. That Guan Yuan, when I'm with you, he won't come to talk to me awkwardly. Bai Hui lowered his voice and said, anyway, you have to accompany me tonight, otherwise I will be annoyed to death by him. Who do you think I am? Lu Chang'an said unhappily. Bai Hui was a little panicked. She didn't expect Lu Chang'an to be so direct, so she was a little embarrassed. After all, Her thoughts were only her own and she had not communicated with Lu Chang'an. She actually felt that her relationship with Lu Chang'an was already considered a friend. Lu Chang'an was, I really have nothing to say to my friend, he shouldn't refuse such a small favor. Shouldn't it be Jian Ning and Lu Yuan who are doing these things? Am I like your follower? You still bring this up? Bai Hui was embarrassed and annoyed, and actually reached out to pinch Lu Chang'an. Lu Chang'an reached out and pressed Bai Hui's face and pushed her away. Bai Hui took several steps back, but there were her classmates beside her. It just so happened that these were all classmates from her own class. Have you not found a new follower yet? If Bai Hui hadn't been wearing a cute little skirt and high heels today, she would have punched and kicked Lu Chang'an. It's good for me to take care of Yuan. Lu Chang'an. I want to break off our relationship with you. Forget it, I promise you. What? What? I'll help you deal with Guan Yuan. Disgusting, Bai Hui's face changed. How could Lu Chang'an be so tormenting people? It's like he was the nemesis in his life. He used to be able to deal with those boys with ease. A look told them to go east to get the golden cudgel from the dragon palace of the East China Sea, and if he asked them to go west, they had to go to the west to learn the scriptures without looking back. Probably in everyone's life, they will meet someone who doesn't take themselves seriously, but makes them gnash their teeth and always likes to play around him. Fortunately, he already had a girlfriend, and she only used him to deal with Guan Yuan, nothing else. Bai Hui looked at the song. When love is a past. I have never loved, so where does the past come from? Bai Hui looked at Lu Chang'an's side face and remembered what he looked like when he was at the same table. Big chapter completed, please give me monthly votes. Recommend a book, The Host's Brain Hurts, it's very happy, it's very sexy, it's over. Chapter 142. Singing is something that spreads extremely harmoniously between Yangchun Baixu and Lower Reba people, unlike other art forms where works cannot be accepted and appreciated unless they meet certain standards. Singing and listening to music are both needs of spiritual civilization, but it is completely different from art forms such as painting in that other forms are purely psychological and spiritual appreciation, while singing and listening to music can be stimulated by feedback brought by the organs. Brain. Of course, not everyone will be like this. After waiting for several classmates in the same dormitory to finish singing, when it was Lu Chang'an and Bai Hui's turn, Bai Hui gathered her thoughts and prepared to enjoy the pleasure of Lu Chang'an singing with him. His singing will make you feel like your ears are being massaged. No, it's the eardrums. It's like the eardrums are being treated in a spa, Bai Hui said while holding the microphone. Sitting here happened to be Yan Xiang, Li Hongman, and Zhao Yu, who were in Bai Hui's dormitory. Their eyes were a little strange, because it was the first time they saw Bai Hui being so intimate and appreciative of a boy, so they naturally fell in love with him. I matched a certain roommate, Bai Hui once said, who was full of ambiguity in his words. Hello, hello. Lu Chang'an wiped the microphone, still like an old principal patting the microphone to audition. During the prelude and melody, Lu Chang'an turned his head and glanced at Bai Hui. Bai Hui looked at Lu Chang'an's eyes with no difference from usual ones, but felt a vivid emotion in the music, and immediately entered that artistic conception. Singing with Lu Chang'an is so comfortable. His movements and eyes, like a gentle push, can bring people into the artistic conception of the song. His voice is extremely penetrating, and Bai Hui, who is standing next to him, feels the happiest because he always gives her an interactive look at just the right moment, making her singing feel full of artistic conception. It makes people fall away from reality in a trance. Bai Hui opened her eyes and looked at Lu Chang'an, who was so close. She finally felt the devotion of singing with him again. She put down the microphone, hugged Lu Chang'an with blushing cheeks, then quickly let go of him and ran to the sofa to get it. He took 2 sips of water. Several roommates applauded together, but no one thought that Bai Hui hugging Lu Chang'an was worthy of booing. It was just like on many occasions, when everyone cooperated to complete a mutually satisfactory work, they would just hug him in celebration. "I didn't expect you to be so good at singing," Yan Xiang sincerely praised Bai Hui. "She also likes to sing." "No. He leads well. I can't sing by myself. I almost feel bad no matter how I sing." Bai Hui took another sip of water. The song only lasted less than 5 minutes, especially in the second half when Lu Chang'an sang the harmony. The feeling of fusion makes Bai Fen so comfortable. "Can you sing a song with me?" Zhao Yu asked Lu Chang'an eagerly. Before Lu Chang'an refused, Bai Hui quickly said, "Let him rest for a while, singing like this is quite tiring." Zhao Yu glanced at Bai Hui, smiled, and said nothing. He took a closer look at Bai Fei's pink face and moist lips. "Lu Chang'an, sing a solo. I don't believe you are such a weakling. You will be tired after singing just one song." Li Hongman clapped her hands and demanded. Bai Hui didn't interrupt such a request. In fact, all the girls here felt it. Listening to Lu Chang'an sing was really a kind of eardrum massage enjoyment. "I sing a song called Swords Like Dreams, which was the theme song of the TV series Eternal Dragon Sword more than 20 years ago." Lu Chang'an originally planned to sing this song. Bai Hui listened quietly to Lu Chang'an singing. She suddenly realized a problem. What if someone else wanted to sing with Lu Chang'an later? Why am I so reluctant to let others sing with Lu Chang'an? The previous problem has not been solved yet, and the new problem makes Bai Hui feel a little ashamed. It must be the girl's exclusivity and selfishness. Why should she share it with others and let others experience it? This has nothing to do with Lu Chang'an, it's just because he is a selfish person. Just like if you pick up money, you must keep it yourself, why should you share it with others? The idea that everyone who sees it has a share is really boring. No, this reason cannot convince myself, because I have really picked up money and happily distributed it to others. Probably because Lu Chang'an is a little more worthy of people's attention than money. That's not right either. Bai Hui angrily remembered her life principles: as long as she has money, having money is the most important thing. What he likes most is money. If others like to have sex with Lu Chang'an, he can do it. Bai Hui looks around warily to see who is most likely to want to sing with Lu Chang'an again without knowing it. Fortunately, everyone was aware of the situation. After Lu Chang'an sang Swords Like Dreams, he sang Love Country More Love Beauty, and no one asked to sing with him. Lu Chang'an worked as maid for a while and then went downstairs to get something to eat. Yan Xiang and Zhao Yu went to the bathroom together. Bai Hui didn't want to go at first. After ordering 2 songs, he realized that he had drank too much water just now, so he left too. "I went over and heard Yan Xiang and Zhao Yu talking in the bathroom. You were really ignorant just now." Bai Hui was so close to Lu Chang'an, and you even wanted to sing a duet with Lu Chang'an. "Yeah, in fact, in our eyes, it's just friends and classmates who we know and sing a song together, but in the eyes of people in the ambiguous stage of the relationship, they are particularly concerned about it. Of course, we've all been here before, so we don't pay that much attention. Bai Hui has obviously never been in love and cares about everything. Do you think Lu Chang'an likes her? I heard that Lu Chang'an has a girlfriend. He doesn't seem to be very interested in Bai Fen either." Bai Hui turned around and walked to the bathroom downstairs, looked at herself in the mirror, and suddenly cried. "I recommend a book from a friend, The Rebirth of King Zhou of Shang by Xin Chen Yu. If you are interested, you can read it. If you look dongle, please give me Yuxamun Pioba. I'm really immortal." Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 360. Singing is something that spreads extremely harmoniously between Yangchun Baixiu and Lower Reba people, unlike other art forms where works cannot be accepted and appreciated unless they meet certain standards. Singing and listening to music are both needs of spiritual civilization, but it is completely different from art forms such as painting in that other forms are purely psychological and spiritual appreciation, while singing and listening to music can be stimulated by feedback brought by the organs. Brain. Of course, not everyone will be like this. After waiting for several classmates in the same dormitory to finish singing, when it was Lu Chang'an and Bai Hui's turn, Bai Hui gathered her thoughts and prepared to enjoy the pleasure of Lu Chang'an singing with him. His singing will make you feel like your ears are being massaged. No, it's the eardrums. It's like the eardrums are being treated in a spa, Bai Hui said while holding the microphone. Sitting here happened to be Yan Xiang, Li Hongman, and Zhao Yu, who were in Bai Hui's dormitory. Their eyes were a little strange, because it was the first time they saw Bai Hui being so intimate and appreciative of a boy, so they naturally fell in love with him. I matched a certain roommate, Bai Hui once said, who was full of ambiguity in his words. Hello, hello. Lu Chang'an wiped the microphone, still like an old principal patting the microphone to audition. During the prelude and melody, Lu Chang'an turned his head and glanced at Bai Hui. Bai Hui looked at Lu Chang'an's eyes with no difference from usual ones, but felt a vivid emotion in the music, and immediately entered that artistic conception. Singing with Lu Chang'an is so comfortable. His movements and eyes, like a gentle push, can bring people into the artistic conception of the song. His voice is extremely penetrating, and Bai Hui, who is standing next to him, feels the happiest because he always gives her an interactive look at just the right moment, making her singing feel full of artistic conception. It makes people fall away from reality in a trance. Bai Hui opened her eyes and looked at Lu Chang'an, who was so close. She finally felt the devotion of singing with him again. She put down the microphone, hugged Lu Chang'an with blushing cheeks, then quickly let go of him and ran to the sofa to get it. He took 2 sips of water. Several roommates applauded together, but no one thought that Bai Hui hugging Lu Chang'an was worthy of booing. It was just like on many occasions, when everyone cooperated to complete a mutually satisfactory work, they would just hug him in celebration. I didn't expect you to be so good at singing, Yan Xiang sincerely praised Bai Hui. She also likes to sing. No. He leads well. I can't sing by myself. I almost feel bad no matter how I sing. Bai Hui took another sip of water. The song only lasted less than 5 minutes, especially in the second half when Lu Chang'an sang the harmony. The feeling of fusion makes Bai Fen so comfortable. Can you sing a song with me? Zhao Yu asked Lu Chang'an eagerly. Before Lu Chang'an refused, Bai Hui quickly said, let him rest for a while, singing like this is quite tiring. Zhao Yu glanced at Bai Hui, smiled, and said nothing. He took a closer look at Bai Fei's pink face and moist lips. Lu Chang'an, sing a solo. I don't believe you are such a weakling. You will be tired after singing just one song. Li Hongman clapped her hands and demanded. Bai Hui didn't interrupt such a request. In fact, all the girls here felt it. Listening to Lu Chang'an sing was really a kind of eardrum massage enjoyment. I sing a song called Swords Like Dreams, which was the theme song of the TV series Eternal Dragon Sword more than 20 years ago. Lu Chang'an originally planned to sing this song. Bai Hui listened quietly to Lu Chang'an singing. She suddenly realized a problem. What if someone else wanted to sing with Lu Chang'an later? Why am I so reluctant to let others sing with Lu Chang'an? The previous problem has not been solved yet, and the new problem makes Bai Hui feel a little ashamed. It must be the girl's exclusivity and selfishness. Why should she share it with others and let others experience it? This has nothing to do with Lu Chang'an, it's just because he is a selfish person. Just like if you pick up money, you must keep it yourself, why should you share it with others? The idea that everyone who sees it has a share is really boring. No, this reason cannot convince myself, because I have really picked up money. And happily distributed it to others. Probably because Lu Chang'an is a little more worthy of people's attention than money, that's not right either. Bai Hui angrily remembered her life principles, As long as she has money, having money is the most important thing. What he likes most is money. If others like to have sex with Lu Chang'an, he can do it. Bai Hui looks around warily to see who is most likely to want to sing with Lu Chang'an again without knowing it. Fortunately, everyone was aware of the situation. After Lu Chang'an sang Swords Like Dreams, he sang Love Country More Love Beauty, and no one asked to sing with him. Lu Chang'an worked as Meiba for a while and then went downstairs to get something to eat. Yan Xiang and Zhao Yu went to the bathroom together. Bai Hui didn't want to go at first. After ordering 2 songs, he realized that he had drank too much water just now, so he left too. I went over and heard Yan Xiang and Zhao Yu talking in the bathroom. You were really ignorant just now, Bai Hui was so close to Lu Chang'an, and you even wanted to sing a duet with Lu Chang'an. Yeah, in fact, in our eyes, it's just friends and classmates who we know and sing a song together, but in the eyes of people in the ambiguous stage of the relationship, they are particularly concerned about it. Of course, we've all been here before, so we don't pay that much attention. Bai Hui has obviously never been in love and cares about everything. Do you think Lu Chang'an likes her? I heard that Lu Chang'an has a girlfriend. He doesn't seem to be very interested in Bai Fen either. Bai Hui turned around and walked to the bathroom downstairs, looked at herself in the mirror, and suddenly cried. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 361. A man hides and cries. How embarrassing. Girls like this will be looked down upon by others, just like Yan Xiang and Zhao Yu just now. Although they are the richest in the dormitory and have the highest quality of life, they can't even think of brand name bags and luxury goods. Yes, every time you open your 3-layer lipstick gift box, you will get looks of surprise and envy or hidden jealousy. Girls are so happy and proud when their vanity is satisfied. At that time, they were their favorite selves, instead of being ridiculed like now. Maybe they didn't mean to be sarcastic, they just felt so pitiful. Obviously she is the kind of girl who can be infinitely satisfied as long as she buys brand name bags, cosmetics, and beautiful little dresses. Why should she care about this guy Lu Chang'an? Bai Hui wiped her tears and quickly took out her makeup bag. What if her eyeliner was all gone later? Maybe Lu Chang'an would say that she looked like, no matter what he said. Bai Hui shrugged her shoulders, sniffed and looked at herself in the mirror, pouting and reluctantly taking out her eyeliner. There are willow branches swaying outside the window. There used to be a dynasty called the Tang Dynasty. There was a poet named Bai Juyi in the Tang Dynasty. Bai Hui had learned one of his poems, Poem on Willow Branches. When Bai Juyi was wandering around Yangfangfang in Luoyang, he saw an abandoned garden in the southwest corner. He walked in and saw it. A huge weeping willow with golden branches, as elegant and soft as a girl's hair, wrote this poem. One tree has thousands of branches in the spring breeze, tender as gold and soft as silk. In the vegetable garden at the west corner of Yangfeng, who belongs to no one all day long. Why do so many people come to see the gorgeous peonies that also bloom in Luoyang? Just like Lu Chang'an and An Nuan, they wish that everyone knew how loving they were. They are like the Yangfeng willow. A person can live a wonderful life. One day he will be appreciated by others, and then he will be like the one picked by Emperor Xianzong of the Tang Dynasty. The willow branch of Yangfeng willow was inserted into the palace and became famous all over the world. When you can't help but shed tears, if you can stand on your head, then the tears that are about to flow will not flow out. When you can't help but shed tears, open your eyes wide and don't blink. You will see the whole process of the world changing from clear to blurry, and your heart will become clear and clear the moment your tears fall. Salt, destined to melt, perhaps with tears. Guan Yuan leaned against the wall, looked out the window indifferently, softly uttered touching words, turned to face Bai Hui. I didn't mean to peek, but you didn't close the door while you were putting on makeup. I saw it in the mirror to your crying face. Bai Hui knew that the first words Guan Yuan said were said by Huazili in Meteor Garden, but she didn't expect that Lu Chang'an would just go downstairs to get something to eat when Guan Yuan ran over. Have you gained weight recently? Guan Yuan looked at Bai Hui, frowning slightly, looking a little dissatisfied. No, Bai Hui didn't want to pay attention to him at first, but this issue must be made clear. Bai Hui has been carefully losing weight recently, because for a girl like her, if she loses too much weight, the gain will outweigh the loss, although there is no I've lost a lot of weight, but I'm sure I haven't gained weight. Then why are you becoming more and more important in my heart? Guan Yuan replied humorously. Bai Hui looked at Guan Yuan, her cheeks twitched, and she couldn't stop something from squirting out of her throat. She hurriedly reminded Guan Yuan with her eyes, but she couldn't help but opened her mouth and immediately spit out the water and juice she drank today. The spray all hit Guan Yuan. In fact, it's just that I feel a little bit nauseous, but when people cry, their bodies feel more uncomfortable and they tend to vomit easily. It's really not intentional. Bai Hui hurriedly took out a tissue and wiped her mouth. Although Guan Yuan was disgusted, as a girl who pays great attention to her image, she was still very sorry and ashamed that such a thing happened. I'm sorry, you make me so disgusting. No, it's what you said, I didn't mean it, it was just that I drank too much water. Bai Hui explained a few words, threw down a pack of tissues, and ran away in a hurry, leaving the bathroom downstairs for him to use. Guan Yuan stood there blankly. Even though she was Bai Hui, the girl Guan Yuan wanted to pursue, this would be too embarrassing. Guan Yuan couldn't help but raise his hand and glance at his phone. These words just now were all touching love words that he searched for. Why did they have this effect? Bai Hui went to the bathroom upstairs to rinse her mouth and touch up her makeup. She breathed a sigh of relief. This Guan Yuan was really embarrassing. How could a girl not vomit after hearing such words? It's really not his fault. Who asked him to say such disgusting things? I wonder if Lu Chang'an and An Nuan also said such disgusting things when they were together? It's probably more or less the same. Remember what Lu Chang'an said to An Nuan, I'll go wherever you go. Isn't it just this kind of earthy love talk that is pretentious, disgusting, contrived and tacky? Bai Hui returned to the video room and saw Yan Xiang and Zhao Yu sitting there talking and laughing. She didn't know if they were talking to Li Hongman about the topic they just talked about. Bai Hui still had a smile on her face and sat down. On the sofa, her legs in white stockings were curled up and down. The shoes were still the ones given by Zhu Huntang. The diamond-embellished butterflies were trembling on the shoes, which was very beautiful. Where's Lu Chang'an? He doesn't sing anymore, Bai Hui asked openly. Yan Xiang and Zhao Yu looked at each other, and Zhao Yu said with a smile, we haven't seen each other for a while, and you just missed it. Bai Hui hit Zhao Yu angrily, what are you talking about? I just sent a message to her girlfriend. She asked me if there were any crazy bees and butterflies here to provoke Lu Chang'an. She asked me to help keep an eye on Lu Chang'an. Lu Chang'an's girlfriend, she is the only one who regards Lu Chang'an as a treasure, thinking that everyone cares about Lu Chang'an. He, let's sing a duet too, I really want to sing Rooftop. What else does Lu Chang'an say? You should be on the roof, and I should be under the car, it makes me laugh. Bai Hui, as always, led everyone with his cheerful and casual conversational rhythm. Yan Xiang and Zhao Yu looked at each other again without saying anything. They smiled and asked Li Hongman, who could sing this song, to sing with Bai Hui. Lu Chang'an was not on the roof or under the car. He was drinking orange juice in the living room. Why didn't Yan Qingcheng come? Lu Chang'an asked Qin's Haiqiang, who was sitting aside playing games. Qin's Haiqiang didn't want to come at first, but under Sun Shutong's persuasion, he told him not to appear too unsociable. If he doesn't actively participate in class activities, he will easily be isolated. So Qin's Haiqiang came here and kept playing games in the corner of the sofa. Lu Chang'an also asked, you blind? Chin's Haikyung finished reading the book and had enough 280 crystals. He took a shot and clicked on the screen of his mobile phone without any interest. He leaned against the sofa and sighed, Yan Qingcheng is actually in our class, can be ranked second. Yan Qingcheng said she was feeling a little uncomfortable and didn't come over. I am fully responsible here today, Wei Xuanyi said with control. Of course, it feels better to be responsible alone. Tomorrow is the squad leader election. At such an important time, Yan Qingcheng actually gave up the opportunity to show her face, express herself, and impress her classmates more deeply. It must be said that she has cut herself off from the people. Wei Xuanyi has already felt that starting from tomorrow he's the monitor. Lu Chang'an just asked casually, not particularly caring or paying attention to Yan Qingcheng. After sitting for a while, he didn't see that he should be very active in this situation, so he was ready to go upstairs to find Bai Hui. Lu Chang'an, let's go play a game of billiards. Lin Feng suddenly stepped in from the side and walked to Lu Chang'an. When Lu Chang'an went downstairs, Lin Feng stared at Lu Chang'an. Could it be that he had been staring at him for so long, just waiting for this opportunity to come to Lu Chang'an to play pool? Could it be that he is very good at billiards and plans to humiliate Lu Chang'an in this area to avenge his disgrace and regain his place? Of course not, he was just stopping him. Lu Chang'an politely grabbed Lin Feng's shoulders, lifted him aside, and walked upstairs. I recommend a book called Harry Potter, The Invincible Scholar. It has about the same word count as mine, but it has so many gold and silver leaders. I'm so envious. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 362. Lin Feng was horrified. He and Lu Chang'an had had several hands-on experiences. No, it was a one-sided beating experience. He had already experienced Lu Chang'an's monster-like strength. After a brief moment of surprise, he felt a rush of pain on his shoulders. It hurt, so I couldn't help but sit down on the stool next to me, pressing my shoulders so that I couldn't move. If this guy used his full strength, he might be able to crush his bones. Lu Chang'an has been downstairs for so long, Guan Yuan should have no reason to blame himself for not holding Lu Chang'an back. Thinking of this, Lin Feng turned to look at the stairs. Lu Chang'an returned upstairs. There was a loud sound in the video room. He knocked on the door and pushed it open. When he glanced at it, he saw 3 more males in the room, and there was no figure of Guan Yuan. Bai Hui waved and still faced Lu Chang'an with a generous look. She didn't want to keep a distance from Lu Chang'an or change her attitude immediately. That would be too deliberate, and Yan Xiang and Zhao Yu might have to think more. Lu Chang'an walked over, smiled and nodded towards the 3 boys with green faces and excited eyes. In the eyes of boys with strong hormone secretion and who have just begun to look forward to the opposite sex, any social situation is a courtship occasion. Even if it is not as obvious as that of males in the animal world, the psychological and behavioral details are no different after all. This is also natural. This is Wang Weiang, Lao Meijao, and Zheng Changhe from our class. Bai Hui knew that Lu Chang'an probably didn't remember these 3 people. We met you and Zhou Dongdong at the barbecue that time, and they were also there. I know, there is another Guan Yuan. Lu Chang'an said with a good memory, by the way, where is Guan Yuan? Bai Hui came over and pulled Lu Chang'an aside. I was touching up my makeup downstairs just now, and I met Guan Yuan when I went out. Bai Hui said a little complaining, who made him run away suddenly. But who would have thought that Guan Yuan could ambush outside the bathroom, which makes people blame Lu Chang'an. Bai Hui doesn't really blame Lu Chang'an, but she is a bit resentful towards him today, not to mention that isn't it cute for girls to be angry? Why do you need to touch up your makeup? Lu Chang'an took a look at Bai Hui's makeup. I found that you are very good at makeup. You can put 2 tails of leeks on these eyelashes. What a leek as big as you. This is Sisley's eyelash brush, it's so easy to use, I'm too lazy to tell you this. Guan Yuan suddenly said some disgusting words to me, and I spit on him. Bai Hui felt a little embarrassed. The secret pleasure. How disgusting is what he said. You should learn it again. Can your focus stop being so weird? Then what did you spit on him? Lu Chang'an. Oh, I understand. I'm going down first. Lu Chang'an nodded and pushed Bai Hui back to sit on the sofa. I'm going to bury a carrot first. Bury a carrot? Bai Hui watched Lu Chang'an go out and followed him out. She stood in the corridor and watched him go down the stairs. She felt that he was looking for trouble with Guan Yuan, but she was not sure. Bai Hui inadvertently glanced back at Yan Xiang and Zhao Yu, found that they were indeed looking at him and Lu Chang'an intentionally or unintentionally, and couldn't help but snorted in his heart. What a bunch of bad wives. Didn't he already say that he was helping An Nuan to monitor Lu Chang'an? Regardless of whether they believe it or not, they believe it anyway, so why don't they believe it? Really annoying. Lu Chang'an glanced back and found Bai Hui standing on the edge of the corridor, and immediately turned his head. He was not interested in the bottom of the fairy's skirt, let alone wearing pumpkin pants. Many girls wearing gorgeous low skirts, in order to make the skirt look fluffy, often wear a skirt support that looks like a short skirt made of light gauze, allowing the skirt to open like an umbrella. But here under the bustle, what is often worn is not the soft, close-fitting, and light safety pants that are common for girls, but a kind of anti-exposure pumpkin pants. As the name suggests, these pants cover the legs and the middle part bulges like a pumpkin. In short, this way of wearing it sounds silly. Lu Chang'an saw Guan Yuan in the bathroom downstairs. Guan Yuan was wiping the water stains and juice on his body. His body was already wet. Fortunately, he was equipped with a hair dryer. Guan Yuan planned to clean himself up before going out. Guan Yuan is still very concerned about his own image in this situation. Bai Hui is the main target, but it must be a matter of course for other girls to have a crush on him. As the saying goes, the flowers planted intentionally will not bloom, but the willows planted unintentionally will form shade. There are willow branches swaying outside the window, which is really suitable for the scene. Guan Yuan. Guan Yuan turned around and saw Lu Chang'an leaning against the wall, looking out the window indifferently. Is something wrong? Guan Yuan responded lightly, then turned to look at himself in the mirror. His hair was a little wet, and his expressionless face was a bit unruly indifference. Do me a favor. After Lu Chang'an finished speaking, he came to the stairs and opened the door of the tool room. Guan Yuan originally didn't want to pay attention to Lu Chang'an, but Lu Chang'an was an old enemy that he had to face in his life. As Sunangzio said, there was no use in escaping. So Guan Yuan wiped his hands and watched Lu Chang'an take out 2 shovels in the tool room. Lu Chang'an took a handful himself, threw a handful to Guan Yuan, then walked out of the back door and came to the back garden of the villa. What are you doing? Guan Yuan caught the shovel and followed Lu Chang'an. Lu Chang'an walked under the willow tree. Do you know why the willow tree is called willow tree? The willow tree is called the willow tree, Guan Yuan thought, who the hell knows about this? One of the methods used by the ancients to cut down and utilize trees is called the headwood method. Willows are mostly used in the north, and ironwoods are mostly used in the southwest. These 2 trees are particularly suitable. The headwood method is to cut off the head of the tree and leave half of the sprouting branches. Willow tree, so it was originally called Liashu. For those who studied abroad, Lu Chang'an looked at the willow tree and explained, it is recorded in Kaihiji that after Emperor Yang of the Sui dynasty ascended the throne, he dug the Tongji Canal, and Yu Shiji flattered him and wanted to plant willow trees on both sides of the bank. The swaying branches were so beautiful that Emperor Sui Yang thought this was a good suggestion, so he planted willow trees on both sides of the Grand Canal and planted some himself. He gave the willow tree the surname Yang, So the willow tree is also called Yangliu. You asked me to plant willow trees, Guan Yuan was puzzled. What was going on in Lu Chang'an's mind? So for thousands of years, willow has also been a frequent visitor in poems related to the Grand Canal and Suzhou and Hangzhou. The emperors in ancient times were really arrogant. When they met a tree, they also gave them a surname. In fact, who likes to have your last name Yang? Are you right? Lu Chang'an asked. Guan Yuan thought about it for a while. What exactly did Lu Chang'an want to do? It's just that at least Lu Chang'an is gentle now and doesn't seem to be going against him. Guan Yuan also behaves very gracefully. Yes, you can't be too arrogant as a person. I think so too, Lu Chang'an said and began to shovel dirt on the ground. Do me a favor. I know you are strong. Strong. Guan Yuan looked at Lu Chang'an with some vigilance. It seemed that Lu Chang'an had finally noticed something special about Guan Yuan. His words were probably implying something. But you are the person Sunangxiu is wary of, and I am afraid you may not be an ordinary person. Guan Yuan snorted coldly in his heart, and shoveled the soil with a shovel without being arrogant or humble. Two men with extraordinary strength, and Guan Yuan deliberately competing with Lu Chang'an, shoveled very fast, and in a short time they dug a hole in the yard that was almost as high as a person. After digging, Guan Yuan inadvertently raised his head and showed a smile. He wanted to look at Lu Chang'an and smile, but he immediately restrained himself. He was annoyed in his heart. He was really crazy. He came here at night to dig holes and plant trees with Lu Chang'an, a crazy person. Labor makes people happy, labor makes people cheerful, and labor makes people broad-minded. Go in. Lu Chang'an pointed at the pit and said to Guan Yuan. Ah, Guan Yuan was stunned for a moment. You go in, I'll bury you, Lu Chang'an urged. He also wanted to sing. Are you kidding me? Guan Yuan was furious. Not only was he angry that Lu Chang'an wanted to bury him, but he was even more angry that he had lost his mind and thought he was planting trees, and followed him digging here for a long time. No, Lu Chang'an reasoned with Guan Yuan, listen to my explanation. As the saying goes, there is no way to prevent thieves for 1,000 days. I am here to play tonight. I also want to sing. I also want to play game consoles. I'm going to play board games. I can't be by Huey's side all the time, right? Look how dishonest you are. I just went down to drink a glass of orange juice and you were hiding in the bathroom trying to spy on Bai Hui. You said you were so nasty. How can I feel relieved? I didn't spy on her. Shush, shush you. Guan Yuan was furious, and Lu Chang'an was talking nonsense. I know you didn't peep. Wasn't it discovered? You were also splashed with water by Bai Fan. Lu Chang'an pointed at the pit again. Go in, I don't have time to keep an eye on you, so it's safest to bury you here. When our party is over, I will naturally pull you out. I'm not a carrot, why don't I leave? Guan Yuan dropped the shovel and was furious. No, what if you leave and come back? People who would go to the bathroom to peeping cannot be trusted at all. Lu Chang'an shook his head. Let me say it one last time. Lu Chang'an didn't wait for Guan Yuan to finish speaking, and hit Guan Yuan's neck with the shovel. Guan Yuan felt pain immediately, staggered and pointed at Lu Chang'an, staggered and fell into the pit. You won't listen to me, but I might as well go in by myself. Lu Chang'an raised the shovel and began to bury the pipe. Guan Yuan's physical fitness was far beyond that of ordinary people. He woke up soon and found that Lu Chang'an had buried soil on his shoulders. He couldn't help being shocked and angry. Lu Chang'an, you are simply lawless. Do you know what you are doing? You just suffer the disadvantage of being uneducated. Think about it, if you knew the origin of the willow tree's name, you would be able to imagine where someone dug a hole to plant a willow tree. As for the willow tree, just insert a branch and it will be fine. Lu Chang'an clearly reminded him so clearly, but Guan Yuan is still so slow. He must have needed this kind of experience to wake him up to the importance of erudition, study hard from now on, and change his ways. It is not known that Lu Chang'an will think back on Lu Chang'an's painstaking efforts in the future. Naturally grateful. After Lu Chang'an finished speaking, he stuffed the handle of the shovel into Guan Yuan's mouth and blocked his throat to prevent him from yelling and disturbing his classmates. Before this, I stuffed chicken into your vagina and poured chicken juice and sugar water all over your body. It was as painful as yours. Fortunately, I now agree with and support the core socialist values and am not so cruel, Lu Chang'an revealed with a gentle and kind smile. He touched Guan Yuan's head, then walked back to the villa, and broke the door lock in case someone discovered Guan Yuan in time. Lu Chang'an went to wash his hands and found Bai Hui looking around in the corridor again. "Why did you go?" Bai Hui asked with a sigh of relief. "I'm going to bury Guan Yuan. You can play in peace tonight." Lu Chang'an has always been reliable in doing things. He will handle it well if he promises. It has nothing to do with other reasons. The big trouble is not because of who is who. Bai Hui burst into laughter. So, did he mean burying Guan Yuan when he was talking about burying radishes? Lu Chang'an is so annoying. He obviously doesn't want to laugh with him anymore, but he still wants to make her laugh. It's really annoying. Bai Hui didn't take it seriously and asked Lu Chang'an if he wanted to sing. Of course Lu Chang'an wanted to sing. It took him an all-nighter to play because there were no classes in the morning the next day and there were classes only in the afternoon. Everyone had fun until the morning and return. Lu Chang'an and Bai Hui said goodbye and walked home. They walked to the Zhezhou Bridge and looked up at the rising sun. It was another sunny day. Asking for a monthly ticket. "I have a card in my hand. I have the Harem, Miss Yafei's new book." A card in hand. The author of this book has a beautiful appearance that conceals the present and the past, and the lotus flowers are ashamed of the jade face. The quality is clear and frosty, and the fragrance contains autumn dew. His hands are like catkins, his skin is like condensed fat, his collar is like a cricket grub, his teeth are like gourds and rhinoceros, his head is like a moth's eyebrows, he has a clever smile and beautiful eyes. If you look closely at the veins in your eyes, you can see the ripples in the eyes, where the flowers are blooming. Looking at it from a distance, it is as bright as the sun rising. If you look at it forcefully, it's as bright as a flower emerging from Lubo. The slenderness is satisfied, and the length is shortened. Worth reading. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 363. Standing in the east of the river and looking towards the west of the river, the fog is halfway up the center of Bailong. The top floor passes through the clouds and mist, and a red sun like an egg yolk hangs at the corner of the building. In less than an hour, the clouds disappear and the fog dissipates. This red sun makes people feel, it was hard to look straight at it. The bright and dazzling light evaporated the water vapor as always, making the hustle and bustle of the city more and more manic. In such a city and such a season, Lu Chang'an still feels that the sun is shining brightly. As long as he can live a decent life, he should not let the gloom shroud his heart, and his heart should be gentle and broad. Speaking of bright sunshine and living a decent life, Lu Chang'an thought of a relatively old Japanese drama, Sunny Days in Shimokita. The protagonist Yuta follows his girlfriend to the city to resume his studies. He lives in an apartment full of beauties and has full benefits. And then they finally dated. After they dated, they went to check out a room. After checking out the room, they went to take a shower. I probably calmed down as soon as I was hit by the cold water. I felt that I still couldn't let go of the hero, so in the end, the hero abandoned a room full of beauties. Or the finale with my girlfriend. When Lu Chang'an watched this drama, he suddenly realized that the core idea of the entire drama is to remind everyone to take a shower before having an intimate relationship. Lu Chang'an went home, took out the sauce jar, dried the hot sauce, took a shower, sat on the balcony and read a book, waiting for Zhou Dongdong to deliver the soy milk, when he heard a pop coming from downstairs. Turning around, he found old man Qian patting the tree next to the sycamore tree alone. "Did you get into trouble with the sycamore tree? Why did it hit you?" Lu Chang'an looked at old Qian unhappily. "This sycamore tree was struck by lightning some time ago, which shows that it has a lot of spiritual energy. It is particularly effective for me to exercise here. Did you know that there is energy in my hands? This energy can communicate with this tree. Of course old man Qian has it. Own reason. Didn't you originally say that it was because there was a treasure under the sycamore tree that it absorbed the treasure energy? This precious energy and spiritual energy are related to each other. They involve yin-yang and 5 elements. I tell you, you don't understand either. When Zhou Yan and I were discussing yin-yang and 5 elements, your ancestors for 18 generations didn't even know where they were. Hey, you're so bragging. I don't care about you, I just want to shoot in front of you." Lu Chang'an looked at old man Qian, and old man Qian looked at Lu Chang'an. Lu Chang'an took out his mobile phone. Seeing that Lu Chang'an had nothing to do with him, old man Qian felt refreshed and finally avenged Lu Chang'an's instigation of discord last time. Lu Chang'an found a news article and read it. Uncle Lu is over 60 years old this year and firmly believes that bumping into trees has health-preserving effects. In order to exercise, Uncle Lu has been going to the park to bump into trees for a long time. Unexpectedly, before the health-preserving effects were reflected, Uncle Lu suffered from persistent high fever that would not go away. Admitted to the hospital. Maybe he has AIDS. Old man Qian hesitated and continued to pat the tree. After asking about the medical history, the doctor learned that Uncle Lu often went to the park to hit trees in the morning. After examination, he found that a pathogen called Staphylococcus epidermidis was cultured in his blood. The doctor said that normal people have Staphylococcus epidermidis on their skin. The presence of cocci will not cause disease if the skin is intact. The old man's high fever persists because he damaged his skin when he hit a tree, and bacteria took advantage of it and entered, causing the clinical manifestations of sepsis. After Lu Chang'an finished reading, he looked at the old man Qian looking at his hands. "He hit the tree, I just patted. Old Qian hesitantly patted the tree again, and then stared at Lu Chang'an unconvinced. "Yes, you just take a few shots and continue." Lu Chang'an nodded in agreement. "Of course I want to continue." Old man Qian touched the tree. "Why don't you take pictures?" "I'm not a guest of yours," Lu Chang'an urged. "I can touch it if I want. I'll find another piece of news like this to read to you." "Don't read this." Old man Qian wiped his hands on his clothes and hurriedly prepared to go home and wash his hands. "I won't take pictures today. I'll take pictures another day." Finally driving the old man away, Lu Chang'an pulled a leaf from the sycamore tree that was stretched out. "We are all old men, but old men are different from each other. Can you beat me?" Lu Chang'an stayed at home until 12 o'clock. At noon, he went to Bailong Center for a walk. The new store had just opened. He was not too concerned about the business. It was not that he didn't care, but he was sure that the business would be very good. Although the store sold a single variety, but word of mouth spread, and once a bowl of noodles and a chicken drumstick were ready, many people came to eat them. Nowadays, many traditional famous restaurants in Zhengzhou rely on a portion of stinky tofu, a portion of sugar-oiled cakes and the like. Due to their reputation, even if they have derived other products, the best-selling products are actually classic products. Other derivative products are often useless and only increase costs. When Zhou Shuling saw Lu Chang'an coming to the store, she quickly pulled him to sit in the corner and looked at him happily. "Lu Chang'an is taking orders. How much do you think it sold for yesterday?" Zhou Shuling couldn't help but reach out and hold his hand holding the phone, reminding him to pay attention to the important news she was about to announce. No guessing, Lu Chang'an motioned her to take her hands away with his eyes. "Why are you like this?" Zhou Shuling was unhappy and didn't pay attention to Lu Chang'an's eyes. We sold a lot of money. We are really going to make a fortune. If you get rich, just buy Zhou Dongdong a small plane. What kind of small plane should I buy? A toy plane? She already has one. Seriously, helicopters, Zhuhantang has several. How can you afford it? You can't even afford a helicopter, yet you dare to say that you are going to get rich. Lu Chang'an took out his hand and poked her overly excited face away. This is a little bit of promise. How much does a helicopter cost? Zhou Shuling asked curiously, touching the cheek that Lu Chang'an poked. There are hundreds of thousands to hundreds of millions. Lu Chang'an raised his head and looked at the roof, as if his eyes could penetrate the 93rd floor and reach the hangar on the top floor. Just set a goal for yourself and set a goal for Zhou in the future. If you buy a helicopter worth hundreds of millions, you will be considered rich. Why did you buy her that thing? Zhou Shuling didn't like it very much. I saw the third lady's helicopter whining and whining upstairs several times. It was quite noisy. It's not a dog, so how can it fly like a whimper? Dogs can't fly whiningly, right? The two were chatting, and All-Star walked in from outside, with a smile on his face, but looking at Lu Chang'an and Zhou Shuling, there was something strange in his eyes. He has a crazy imagination, a super unscrupulous protagonist. The story is very funny, and he occasionally drives secretly. Welcome to Xiao Zhongnu's Master God Investigator. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 364. Caring too much about someone sometimes hurts oneself, making oneself narrow-minded, suspicious, sensitive, and neurotic. Sometimes when one looks at oneself from the perspective of a bystander, one may even be surprised and unbelievable. How did one become like this? During swimming lessons, I felt uncomfortable when I saw her shoes next to the shoes of a boy who I thought might be having an affair with her. When he and she looked at each other, her smile made him feel heartbroken. She glanced over unconsciously and her heart started beating. Did she discover something? Does she hate herself for paying attention to her? In the empty classroom, all the students have left. Anyone who approaches her desk will feel strange. Liking someone is actually a matter of torturing yourself, even tantamount to self-abuse. The sadness of youth has settled down and may not have taken root in the hearts of middle-aged people. All-Star walked over and said with a smile, "You two siblings are really close to each other. Manager Quan is here. Sit over here and I'll ask the kitchen to prepare it for you." Zhou Shuling quickly stood up, pulled out the chair next to her for All-Star to sit down, and then went to talk to the kitchen. Lu Chang'an smiled slightly and said nothing. All-Star, a middle-aged man, had a good heart, but he had not given up on Zhou Shuling, which made him feel uncomfortable. Zhou Shuling took the order and sat back. She originally wanted to chat with Lu Chang'an. Although Lu Chang'an was not willing to listen to her about serious matters, Zhou Shuling also had to have someone to report to. If he didn't want to listen carefully, then he didn't want to listen seriously. Anyway, Zhou Shuling said it was her own. After sitting down, Zhou Shuling didn't want to talk anymore. She didn't say anything serious at first and just chatted with Lu Chang'an. Now that the All-Stars were sitting next to her, Zhou Shuling felt like she had nothing to say anymore. She opened her mouth and said, "Would you like to add an omelette? This is a new dish I invented." "Did you invent the omelette?" "You invented the 4 major inventions." Lu Chang'an found a person with a thicker skin than himself. "I mean our store. You see, you made this noodle. Zhou Dongdong also made a big chicken drumstick. I think I have to invent a dish to get it in." Zhou Shuling is a very motivated person and looks forward to it. Lu Chang'an looked at Lu Chang'an, he couldn't disagree. Lu Chang'an laughed. It's a good thing for women to have ideas. She may not be unconvinced, but she definitely has the idea that she just wants to make more contributions. "You can add an omelette for me and Manager Quan." Lu Chang'an nodded. Thank you, but most noodle shops add fried eggs. In order to save time, the fried eggs in many stores are almost made with a big pot of oil. When the eggs are thrown in, it looks like they are fried. They are too crispy and bitter, so they don't count at all. Fried eggs. The All-Star also approved. Zhou Shuling talked to the kitchen and was very happy to see that both of them agreed with her idea. The eggs I bought from my relatives in my hometown are all local eggs, fried with lard, and adding an omelette costs only 2 yuan. Is that too much? 5 yuan. Lu Chang'an thought for a while and said, if you order it for 5 yuan, let's add it to the set meal and count it as 3.5 yuan. Our cost is quite high. I thought 2 yuan would be enough. Zhou Shuling was startled and looked at Lu Chang'an carefully. She felt that she had made a big mistake. If the difference was 3 yuan, wouldn't it mean that she had lost 3 yuan from selling 1,000 eggs? 1,000 yuan, I lost the price. It costs 5 yuan. A Japanese-style steamed egg in the Western restaurant upstairs costs more than 100 yuan. Why can't our lard-fried eggs cost 5 yuan? All-Stars also supported it. Lu Chang'an and All-Stars finished eating noodles with fried eggs and walked out of the store together. Lu Chang'an patted All-Stars on the shoulder, don't think too much. After Lu Chang'an finished speaking, he left. All-Star was stunned for a moment. Did Lu Chang'an mean to stop him from thinking too much about Zhou Shuling, or did he see that he meant something else when he said that their brother and sister had a good relationship? It was difficult to figure out for a moment, but it turns out that these people with hidden backgrounds like to make people speculate when they talk. I was lucky enough to listen to Miss Zhu's instructions a few times. Like Lu Chang'an, she also had a very high level of speaking and had to listen carefully to analyze. Know the meaning. Lu Chang'an did not expect that he would be compared with Zhu Huntang. He walked out of Bailong Center and walked to school under the scorching sun at noon. The military training is over, and there is no touching camouflage green on the entire campus. The maple leaves are getting redder and the sycamore trees have fallen many leaves. The wind passing by on the streets covered with leaves has rolled them up, and there are leaves depicting the shape of the wind, a circle. The circle reminds people of Zhu Shahan's sentimental love poem. Did you read today's Weibo? I forwarded at you. Although Lu Chang'an's actions once made Nuan give up the idea of using his trumpet to follow each other, and Nuan no longer cares about him. No, I don't use Weibo much now. Lu Chang'an shook his head. Okay. You don't use Weibo very much now, and Nuan said sourly, you used to use it so diligently. The modal particle a is not as strong as a. Do I have something to express strongly? Humph, it's very cute here. The way you change the subject is still so blatant. Isn't the point of the Weibo content you want to tell me? Lu Chang'an changed the topic again. And Nuan took her mobile phone and read, in recent years, with the popularity of villa parties, they have gradually become popular among students. After a party was held in a villa near Zhangde University this morning, a student came to the villa. He was found buried in the soil in the backyard. Other students ignored him and left. When the staff were cleaning the villa, they found that his whole body was buried in the soil, with only his head exposed. After the student was rescued, he refused to go to the hospital. Unwilling to disclose more information, left on their own. The villa staff said that such a prank had never been discovered before, and its nature was extremely bad. The management would consider sending staff to the entire city to supervise the queuing in the future to prevent such pranks. Mischief. Is this a prank? Ordinary people would probably burp after being buried for so long. Lu Chang'an shook his head seriously. This student actually left unharmed on his own. According to the current regulations and work style, I'm afraid it will be a big deal in the end. It's a trivial matter. I saw some comments below saying that it seems to be from our school. The most important thing is that the victims are unwilling to speak out. It is difficult to conduct an in-depth investigation at present, and Nuan lamented, the phenomenon of campus bullying is getting more and more serious. Logically speaking, College students, you are an adult, don't you think about the consequences? When you look at this kind of news now, you can't make a decision immediately. 9 out of 10 news items are reversed, and these media are irresponsible. I think the real situation of this news may be a duel between two superpowers and college students. The labels Villa Party have nothing to do with it. Excuse me, what is it like to have a middle-aged boyfriend? Thank you for asking. My boyfriend is a middle-aged patient who believes in the existence of superpowers. The experience is okay, but he also has superpowers and is very annoying, and Nuan asked herself answer. What superpowers do you have that you discovered? Lu Chang'an wondered, do you finally believe the truth about my immortality? You're super good at pulling. What kind of superpower is this? Then does your super cuteness count as a superpower? Forget it, and Nuan admitted loudly and confidently. So does your good looks count as a superpower? Calculate. The two of them chatted all the way. After they separated, Lu Chang'an went to the roadside and bought a piece of pig brain flowers to eat. Recently, his brain is not as good as before. He should eat whatever he wants to make up for it. If he Guan Yuan said that he didn't forget him on purpose, I don't know if he would believe it, but since he had eaten pig brains, it could be seen that at least he believed it, so why should he not believe it? Believe it or not, Lu Chang'an was eating pig brains, and his phone vibrated. Lu Chang'an thought that it was not An Nuan's call, that he had just separated from An Nuan, so he was not in a hurry to answer it, and still squatted under a parasol tree on the roadside eating pig. Brainy. The phone kept vibrating until Bai Hui ran to him panting. You, why don't you answer the phone? Bai Hui could hear the vibrating sound of the bulge in his trouser pocket. Please calm down first. Lu Chang'an also noticed that Bai Hui stuttered when she was anxious and nervous. It was just that she had not encountered many nervous and anxious things before. Lu Chang'an discovered it on her body when she took out 200,000 yuan. Bai Hui pressed her chest to calm down. She was catching up on her sleep in the dormitory in the morning. When she woke up, she didn't even bother to change into a beautiful little skirt. She ran to see Lu Chang'an without even putting on makeup. This meant that something serious had happened. Yesterday I heard from your class that you don't have classes until the next afternoon. I knew you must have come to school in a pinch. Lu Chang'an missed the call or deliberately didn't pick up. Phone calls were so common that Bai Hui couldn't bear to call him in the dormitory and wait to ask him something. Your eyelashes are not curled up at all today, they look like dead fish eyes. Lu Chang'an glanced at Bai Fen, feeling slightly different from last night. Maybe it was because the lights last night were so beautiful and the night was just right. The willow branches outside the window evoked thoughts of spring. No way, Bai Hui was shocked, turned around hurriedly, turned on the front camera of his mobile phone and took a look at himself. It's okay. Even without the beauty effect, this face is not only because of the all-nighter last night. I feel a little tired, but it's still okay. After all, she is a beautiful girl, and she can meet people even if she is naked. I didn't say that I have to apply 7 or 8 layers of stuff before I can go out and see the people I care about, but I can meet people I hate. My eyelashes are already long and curled. I wore contact lenses last night and they looked sparkling, so maybe they were a little, slightly bigger by a millimeter, no, 1/100th of a millimeter, but there is actually no difference. Bai Hui wanted to remind Lu Chang'an not to be blind and to take a closer look, but then he remembered the many reflections, determination, and pride he had after returning to the dormitory this morning, so he just stared at him with wide eyes, hoping that he could understand it on his own. She wouldn't remind him anyway. Lu Chang'an finished eating the pig brains and was getting ready to go to class. Wait a minute. Bai Hui caught up with Lu Chang'an, slapped his chest, and almost forgot about the business. I have something else to tell you. It's all Lu Chang'an's fault. He talks about things as soon as they meet, which makes Bai Hui almost forget about the real thing. Say it. I at you on Weibo, have you seen it? No. Look at this Weibo, I'll read it to you. Stop reading it, and Nuan has already read it once. Lu Chang'an was not interested in hearing it a second time. Ah, Bai Hui lowered her voice, did she ask her mother to help you intercede in school? What love, it was simply baffling. You buried Guan Yuan, Bai Hui heard about it in the dormitory. After reading it on Weibo, she saw more and more that it was Lu Chang'an who did it. Last night, Lu Chang'an said that he had buried Guan Yuan. Bai Hui definitely didn't believe it at the time, but it was true that Guan Yuan was not seen the whole night. Could this be a coincidence? The villa in the picture on Weibo is the one where the party was held last night. Your reflex arc is quite long. I told you last night. You just came here at noon today to talk anxiously. Lu Chang'an pointed to the roasted brain flower shop behind him. Go back and make an appointment with the brain flower shop. A set meal, eat pig brain flowers 3 meals a day, and make up for it for half a year. Really, Bai Hui, who knew the truth, stuttered again. Lu Chang'an nodded. Bai Hui then remembered that he was so stupid. Why didn't you respond last night? Obviously Lu Chang'an has such a cruel record. For example, when he met 2 little robbers that night, he casually threw them off the pedestrian bridge, and there was still a driveway below. You don't care about the life or death of others at all. For example, earlier, he sent 2 other disciples who came to spar into the hospital to lie down, and then demolished their martial arts gym. I heard him talk about burying Guan Yuan last night, so why did I think he was joking? Bai Hui was very upset. If he had discovered it last night, he would have asked him to dig out the tube circle. It's just, did I think too much? Given Lu Chang'an's character, since he has done this, is it possible that he will change it if he tells it to himself? The pigs will all climb the trees. Now we are a grasshopper on a rope again. No, we are a grasshopper on a rope again. It's still wrong. You are the grasshopper and I am the one holding the rope. Lu Chang'an stuttered at Bai Hui, a little bit slurred because of the infection. He waved his hand and said, Grasshopper, go back to class. Why? Bai Hui felt aggrieved. Why did he become a grasshopper again? Even if she becomes a grasshopper, she is still the only grasshopper. If both of them are grasshoppers, Bai Hui will be a little bit willing. Because you are an accomplice, no, you are the messenger. I am just doing business, and it was you who asked me to bury Guan Yuan last night. I just asked you to help me deal with Guan Yuan. I'll just bury him. Then I'm not, You want to come to our classroom for class? Lu Chang'an suddenly stopped and looked back at Bai Hui. Bai Hui put her hand in front of her chest. Her movement was much more agile than her motor skills showed. Bai Hui realized that she had followed him to the door of the biology school's classroom, and hurriedly turned around and ran away. There must have been some students in their class who had many beautiful impressions of her last night. She followed Lu Chang'an to their classroom today, which would inevitably make people suspicious of her and Lu Chang'an. What? The most important thing is that she is not wearing makeup. She doesn't want others to have a feeling of, oh, this girl looked very good last night, but why doesn't she look so good today? Could it be that the lighting is too beautiful and the night is just right and the willow branches outside the window are stirring, the feeling of the thoughts of spring? Lu Chang'an looked back at Bai Hui's twisting waist as she ran away. Her upper body was so heavy and her waist was so thin, so her balance must be poor. Look, she almost hit a tree. In the first semester, everyone's classes were basically together. Zhu Huntang also came to class. Except for the military training, which she did not participate in, her posture seemed to be quite upright during the formal class. She even did not take a helicopter when she came to class one day. She chose a regular Bentley in a low-key and ordinary way. It was cheaper than her customized Maybach S680, and she didn't even ride in the RR Phantom. Zhu Huntang believes that wealthy people want to spend as much as they want in the country and purchase properties and real estate, which can not only drive domestic consumption, increase employment, and make secondary contributions to economic development, but also express their honest determination. If it were the other way around, Zhu Huntang wouldn't say it either. I recommend a book, The Taoist Master of Huangting. It's about Lu Logu's ancient journey of cultivating immortality in all realms. It's absolutely unconventional and very interesting. Thanks to San's generous reward and monthly ticket red envelope, a new leader and 200 monthly tickets have been added to this book. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 365. Lu Chang'an and Zhu Huntang studied hard. When they were improving every day, Guan Yuan did not go to class. The matter of the Hunan University students being buried caused a lot of fuss. This is an era where entertainment is enough to kill everyone. It is also an era where everyone is frothing. Even if the people and things were not covered in stains, the truth of the matter was not revealed, but a large group of people had already scraped a circle of saliva in their mouths with their tongues, and the saliva was dripping. Most of these people have no brains, and the word most is extremely accurate, because that is the fact. If you don't accept it, just think that you are the minority. It has become much more troublesome, and many institutions that often face social supervision and public attention have become much calmer. Although Zhangde University launched an investigation into this incident, it was only at the college level, not to mention the silence of the parties involved, and some majestic voices are reminding the school leaders that in short, there is a lot of discussion about this matter, but there is no power to peel off the cocoon to reveal anything. After class in the afternoon, many articles about this incident were deleted. Simple and crude, it has always been tried and true. This is how we deal with the public. Most of the things that attract attention but have no actual serious impact have been noisy for a few days, waiting for the group of people who like it. The person who scratched the saliva changed his interest and the matter passed. Causing public outrage to a certain extent is another matter. Guan Yuan was glad for the time being that the villa management did not install a camera in the villa, otherwise he would have known it was him upon investigation. Everyone left in a daze this morning, and no one noticed when Guan Yuan began to disappear from everyone's sight. Now Guan Yuan has come to the glass house. This glass house is very beautiful and mysterious. Guan Yuan is currently only qualified to stay on the first floor and is not allowed to go to the second floor by Sunangziu. Human beings are like this. The more forbidden something is, the more they yearn for it. Regardless of sin and desire, they are waiting on the other side of the forbidden horizontal line to devour those who cross the line. Interesting, as expected of as expected of Lu Chang'an, Sunangziu sat in front of the computer, holding the mouse with her slender white fingers and gently clicking on some remaining information and comments. Guan Yuan found that the way she held the mouse was also very nice. She covered the mouse lightly and lazily. Every click of her index finger and middle finger seemed to be stroking the smooth surface of the mouse, and her thumb would be thin. He was rubbing the side of the mouse, and his 3 fingers seemed to be rubbing and pinching the top of the mouse very rhythmically. A girl with a cold and childish appearance, but the angle of her mouth is raised in a way that is sarcastic and piercing people's hearts. Interesting. Guan Yuan did not expect that the things he had been ashamed of his whole life would just behave like this in the eyes of the other party. It seems that he has buried many people, and his techniques are very professional. I was buried in the ground by him, and my hands and feet were twisted. Even with the slightest effort, my whole body was in great pain. There was something stuffed in my mouth, so I couldn't grit my teeth and hold in my strength. Guan Yuan still reported the situation dutifully. He felt that Sunangziu had underestimated Lu Chang'an. She underestimated Lu Chang'an, so she was also responsible for Guan Yuan's failure. So according to normal thinking and logic, shouldn't Sunangxiu comfort and compensate Guan Yuan? For example, make him stronger, at least let him have the ability to compete head-on with Lu Chang'an, otherwise what is the point of letting him deal with Lu Chang'an? Have you read those novels about soldiers and kings? Sunangxiu casually clicked on a novel website and flipped through novels with the same keywords combined into different titles. No, Guan Yuan shook his head. Lu Chang'an is such a soldier king. His life is actually no different from the soldier kings in these novels. He is just more artistic and mentally stronger. He does not have the post-traumatic sequelae and occasional nostalgia of those soldier kings, and he is not like the soldier kings. There are many past entanglements that disturb his current life, just a little bit. Sunangxiu sneered. Do you know the biggest difference? What? Guan Yuan was very smart and didn't answer, because since he had never read the novel The King of Soldiers, he naturally didn't know the difference. This is the wit of Guan Yuan, showing his scheming and fortitude in the details. No matter how cold and cruel those warrior kings are, they will always describe how he was touched by a certain woman, or became their enemy. Sunangxiu let out a long sigh. Lu Chang'an, you mean, he doesn't have a woman he likes? Guan Yuan found it unbelievable. There were obviously many women around Lu Chang'an, such as An Nuan, Qin Yinan, Zhu Huntang, and Bai Hui. Each one was better than the last. Guan Yuan felt that even if he was excellent, he would be carefree. If you are yourself, you will be satisfied. No, Sunangxiu said firmly. No way. He is a ruthless person. Sunangxiu sneered. That's not what you meant last night, was it? Guan Yuan recalled Sunangxiu's warning yesterday. If Guan Yuan planned to take drastic action, he would even cause Lu Chang'an to retaliate and implicate Sunangxiu. Isn't it because of love and justice that he would retaliate? I know him better than you think, Sunangxiu answered Guan Yuan expressionlessly and patiently. Guan Yuan was silent. Whether Lu Chang'an was affectionate and righteous, or ruthless and unrighteous, what did it have to do with him? On the contrary, Sunangxiu seemed to be full of resentment. You are only a 14-year-old girl. If you were older, people would really think that you and Lu Chang'an had some kind of emotional entanglement. Why choose Bai Fen? Since Lu Chang'an is ruthless, Bai Fen will definitely not take it to heart. It is better to choose An Nuan. At least it seems that according to the known information, Lu Chang'an cares more about An Nuan. This is an issue that Guan Yuan cares about. In fact, it is difficult to choose between Bai Hu and An Nuan. Each has its own advantages. I really want to make an adult choice. An Nuan, Sunangxiu frowned. Yes. An Nuan. Sunangxiu rubbed the side of her eyebrows, looking a little confused. An Nuan is the daughter of Professor Lu from our school. She is much more popular in school than Bai Hui, Guan Yuan said eagerly. An Nuan, this girl, I always feel like there's something wrong, but I can't remember it. Sunangxiu frowned. Guan Yuan did not disturb Sunangxiu, who seemed to be continuing to think about the problem. Forget it, regardless of An Nuan, you continue to do what you should do, and don't let me have any wild ideas. Sunangxiu waved his hand impatiently. Since people like Lu Chang'an can't defeat him physically, then the only way to defeat him is through psychological defeat. Miss Su, I'll ask, how do you want to deal with Lu Chang'an in the end? Guan Yuan felt the deep resentment in Sunangxiu's tone when she said this. Let him be my only man. Sunangxiu stared at Guan Yuan, and every word seemed to be knocked out between the bright porcelain teeth. Guan Yuan took a few steps back in panic and hit the wall. Him, why is the law of heaven so unfair? Who the hell is the protagonist? The first month of 2019, go ahead. Please give me some monthly votes, I want to be in the top 40 this month. Monthly pass. Recommend a book. Chat room in another world. Shunsen looked at the current members of the group. When there are 20 people, the VPN to another world will be opened. Let's bring in more people. Blank, Black Cat, Momonga, Riemu, Akatsuki Homura, Phoenix Academy Murderer, Brook, Kurosaki Ichigo, Itsuka Kotori, Steve, etc. Kratos, call me during which night? Atros at Xiaomian, my father said, call him on the night of the witch fight. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kuiken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 366. Everyone hopes to be the protagonist, but in any era, only a handful of people can become the protagonist. If you narrow it down to a region, a school, or even just a small fixed circle, there will often be only one person who becomes the protagonist. It is difficult for others to get to the top. After all, getting to the top means pulling down other outstanding people. The position of the protagonist is very popular. From Hedong to Hexi, from under the sycamore tree to Lushan Academy, Lu Chang'an consciously realized that the protagonist was not himself, he just wanted to compete for the best supporting actor. Being a supporting role is actually a very comfortable thing, especially in a peaceful era. At this moment, there are not many characters who can really catch his eye. In this world, everyone can live a good life and work hard. In the era of studying hard, Lu Chang'an was content to play a supporting role in the era and did not want to dominate this era. After class in the afternoon, Lu Chang'an did not accept Zhu Huntang's invitation to go to the glass house with her to see her beautiful and arrogant little cousin. It turned out that Sun Nangxiu, who seemed particularly mature with her arrogant words, was only 14 years old. Stunned, Zhu Huntang recalled what he was doing when he was 14, there seemed to be nothing worth remembering. The only thing that was certain was that he was probably already a fairy by then. Lu Chang'an wandered around the School of Biology and stopped outside the volleyball court. He sat on a long chair next to a street lamp and watched the men and women inside jumping and flapping. There were few people playing, but they looked like they were training very seriously. Then I remembered that I wonder if Nuan has a chance to join the college volleyball team. Unlike high schools, for a traditional sports-strong school like Hunan University, the university's various sports teams often have players who perform well in local or even national sports events, even in international events. It is not impossible to achieve something, not to mention that many local retired athletes will choose to study at Hunan University, which can further improve the school's competition level. Nuan is a talented player on the volleyball team of the affiliated middle school. When she came to Hunan University, the pressure of competition was too great. Judging from her usual attitude, it seemed that she had realized something and was ready to give up. It's just that after all, it's my favorite sport. I don't have the opportunity to have organized training and competition like in high school, so I will inevitably feel a little disappointed. Lu Chang'an had no intention of continuing to fulfill Nuan's dream. He felt that everything in life should not be perfect. This kind of mental journey was a kind of gain and growth. At this time, a girl wearing black musk-skin-tied hot pants ran past Lu Chang'an. Her shoe kicked Lu Chang'an, causing him to stumble and almost fall. Black lace-up shoes, black silk stockings, and a black outfit complement her fair skin, which has some merits. There are many beautiful girls in Hunan University, and there are only a few who kick Lu Chang'an. He is just a big girl. Fang Fangdi put his feet on the road with no intention of moving away. Otherwise, what's the point of having other people's eyes? In order for the girl's beautiful eyes to have a meaning other than just ogling, the other party probably couldn't understand my intentions, which was really a pity. I'm sorry. The girl glanced at Lu Chang'an, apologized quickly, and then ran away in a hurry. Lu Chang'an still maintained his original posture motionless. Out of the corner of his eye, he noticed that the girl stopped not far away. There were two other girls waiting for her, and then they looked at Lu Chang'an, laughing and saying something. Lu Chang'an lowered his head and saw $20 on the ground. 20 yuan can buy several bottles of orange juice, so Lu Chang'an suddenly realized the significance of 20 yuan, so he put one hand in his pocket and bent down to pick up the 20 yuan. He just picked it up because he realized its significance, so he didn't actually pick it up and buy orange juice. A WeChat ID was left on the 20 yuan note. Lu Chang'an turned to look at the girls and found that he had discovered another meaning of the 20 yuan, so their reactions conveyed accurate information to Lu Chang'an. This WeChat account belonged to the girl just now. Lu Chang'an didn't take out his mobile phone to add WeChat, and then started a conversation on WeChat across a volleyball court. He took 20 yuan and walked directly to the girl. The three girls were still under the tree, and their laughter gradually stopped. After all, after receiving a response to their bold conversation, they had to show some restraint appropriately. Is this $20 yours?
Yes.
Is this your WeChat ID? You guess. According to the currency management regulations, all units and individuals should take good care of the RMB and are prohibited from intentionally damaging the RMB and other acts that damage the RMB specified by the National Bank, including graffiti on the RMB. After Lu Chang'an finished speaking, he reached out and slapped 20 yuan on her forehead. The three girls stared at Lu Chang'an dumbfounded, especially the girl in the middle, who seemed to be stunned and motionless as if she had been stuck with a restraining charm. Goodbye. After Lu Chang'an finished speaking, he turned around and walked over. There was a tall and beautiful girl standing by the street lamp outside the volleyball court. The two of them walked towards the Orange Garden community together. You still don't ask. After walking 100 meters, Lu Chang'an turned to look at An Nuan. An Nuan was puffing out her cheeks as if she was holding her breath. Oh, I understand. Generally speaking, I have to take the initiative to explain in this kind of situation, so that I can be regarded as a good performer. Lu Chang'an understood. An Nuan finally breathed a sigh of relief and looked at him with wide eyes. If someone dropped 20 yuan, I would return it to them, Lu Chang'an said with a smile. They were the ones scribbling on the RMB, and I reminded them. You care too much. An Nuan actually didn't care about this matter, she just liked to take the opportunity to annoy him through this matter. You don't care much. I should care about you. You can control my people, but you can't control my heart. What? Fontenelle lived for more than 100 years. Before he died, he met a famous beauty. He said, "Ah, madam, it would be great if I could be 80 again." Guess the one he met? Who is the beauty? I don't even know who Fontenelle is, and Nuan didn't care about his blatant change of subject, but at least you can tell some famous celebrities' deeds that everyone is familiar with. The point is, as long as you are beautiful enough, you can control a man's heart at any time. Lu Chang'an's lips curled up slightly. Now it's up to you, when you want to get my man. You. And Nuan was ashamed and annoyed, and raised her fist to hit someone. You know how to do this. Should I kill you with a knife? Casual. I hate it, and Nuan quickly dismissed the topic of naked teasing. But there is one important thing. Zhizi called me. She said she would come back in the next 2 days because she wanted to use my magic. The cream healed her face that was sunburned during military training. It's not necessary, as the ancients said, a wall of dung cannot be sealed. Her face will just look like that no matter how painted it is, Lu Chang'an stated objectively. I just occasionally get a few pimples during adolescence, and Nuan expressed her determination to protect her best friend by gritting her teeth. Oh. Actually, I think it was her mother who instigated it. Professor Ling just wanted to try it and see the effect. You don't know how strong a woman's desire to try it is when she knows that a certain cosmetic is magical. And Nuan was also helpless and looked at Lu Chang'an pitifully. But I can give it to them to try, but in fact they want it. Please, can you make another bottle? Zhizi and Professor Ling's face together. It's really hard for me to refuse. Lu Chang'an sighed in embarrassment, looked at An Nuan's beautiful face, and nodded. Okay, but I have a condition. Say it. An Nuan was relieved and happy, because she knew that Lu Chang'an, If he really didn't agree, then even if she tried to persuade him, he wouldn't be moved. You do it for me. Lu Chang'an touched En Nuan's little face. Okay, En Nuan jumped up and down in anticipation. Recommend a book. My 1979.